Quaggans are some of the most incredible creatures across Tyria. Plump, rotund creatures with beluga-like faces that have historically called the oceans of Tyria their home. With flippers on the end of their limbs and broad tails, Quaggans are adept swimmers. Their skin tone differs depending on the area of the world they are in. In the southern reaches of Tyria, typically their backs are a sea blue or green that morphs into a grey color on their bellies. In the northern reaches of Tyria, their backs are more black as their bellies are more white. Quaggans lay eggs and their young are referred to as tadpoles, hatchlings, and calves depending on their age. Tended to in nurseries, both Quaggan eggs and young are looked after by members of their community, where Quaggan hatchlings are different colors depending on their gender, where males are blue as hatchlings and stay blue or turn green in their adulthood, but female hatchlings are pink until they turn blue or green in their adulthood. While Quaggans are adept swimmers, they are also able to live on land. However, their skin begins to dry and crack, which is incredibly uncomfortable for a Quaggan and encourages them to return to the waters periodically. Quaggans are omnivorous, mostly looking to feast on harvested fish as well as marine plants like coral and seaweed. One of the most important characteristics of Quaggans are their natural defense mechanisms, where when a Quaggan feels threatened or is in pain, their adrenaline levels begin to surge, which causes their body to change. Scales begin to cover their body like armor, their eyes become bigger, their skin turns into a more aggressive reddish hue, their heads become more bony and spiky, fangs erupt from their mouths, fins emerge from their backs and tail, and they gain talons along their flippers. This process turns what was once considered a cute and friend-shaped creature into a deadly and vicious one. But alongside these physical changes, a Quaggan's rational thought is diminished as their body is filled with rage and they act only on natural instinct, oftentimes becoming uncontrollable and lashing out at everything, friend or foe. Only a few Quaggans have been able to retain any of their control while this natural process happens. Because of the Quaggan's natural state of peacefulness, their culture's general approach to peace, and the volatility that occurs when a Quaggan transforms, Quaggans tend to avoid fights and attempt to live peacefully in their own villages. But because of their general weakness and their isolated villages across Tyria, many Quaggan communities come under attack by outside forces, where many Quaggans will agree to an aggressor's terms simply because they do not wish to fight and want to live in peace. Quaggan culture considers self-reference to be offensive and self-centered. As such, Quaggans rarely use pronouns or names when speaking about themselves or others, instead preferring to use the general term of Quaggan whenever they interact with others, such as by saying Quaggan wishes to be your friend instead of saying I wish to be your friend. But certain Quaggans, such as those in positions of authority or those in mixed racial organizations like the Pact, will use pronouns to prevent confusion between multiple individuals. Alongside this, Quaggan language tends to make heavy use of ooh sounds in their languages, where many words in their language, many Quaggan names, and many Quaggan villages have ooh sounds in their names, such as the village of Moogaloo located in the Kessex Hills, or the Quaggan Slough Shoe located in the Bitterfrost frontier. While most Quaggans are comfortable naked, some do wear clothing as both a sign of individuality and pride, like the Quaggan Kuchu the Incredulous who sports a dapper, flame-embellished suit, or like many Quaggans who wear different headpieces. Quaggan structures tend to be round pods made up of coral and seaweed, where the buildings are tethered to the seafloor but can be moved around should the Quaggans decide their village needs to be moved to a safer location. Where alongside this, Quaggans will farm both luminous pearls as well as phosphorescent algae to light up their villages, which is sometimes necessary because of how deep in the ocean or a cave a Quaggan village can be. Quaggan religion revolves around a single deity known as Malagan. She represents the bounty and wealth of the ocean. Many human scholars claim that Malagan is the Quaggan's interpretation of the human god Melandru, especially with how many Quaggans will worship statues of Melandru in reverence to their goddess Malagan. However, many Quaggans state that there is a key difference between the two, as one is nature-based on land and the other is water-based in the oceans. Yet many Quaggans refuse to argue this point, preferring to be polite and to avoid conflict. One Quaggan states that Malagan is actually the elder dragon Suwan, who abandoned the Quaggan to help the humans and changed her name, leaving the Quaggans to be defenseless in their ancient undersea world and eventually be forced out by other entities. In their ancient sea world, the Quaggan were governed by a single leader known as a Marquisios. the ruler of the Quaggan royal family and the southern Quaggan kingdom in the Unending Ocean, but as the Krayt were fleeing out of the ocean from an unknown force, they invaded Quaggan territory and killed, ate, or enslaved the royal family, including the Marquisios, where the responsibility of leadership now falls to the Veranos, who are the mayors or leaders of each individual Quaggan village located across Tyria. Where the story of Quaggans is often one of heartbreak for a species that wishes to live in peace, being driven out of the Unending Ocean by Krayt, or being pushed south from the northern seas by the elder dragon Jormag. Their culture relies on moving out of the way from threats instead of facing them head-on, but this practice has left the Quaggans with very few places to call home. But, despite all of this, Quaggans have persevered and do still call various areas of the world home, such as Muvuku in Lion's Arch, or Uguth in the Gendaran Fields, locations that are relatively peaceful and should let these Quaggans live in peace forevermore. And that is the story of the Quaggans. There are some Quaggans who are pretty important characters, such as Shashu, but largely the Quaggans are a background race that play minor parts in the Guild Wars 2 story and open world, but largely are a race that became a fan favorite and are some of my favorite characters to meet in Guild Wars 2. If you liked this video, consider subscribing since only 12% of my viewers are subscribed. I hope you are taking good care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.